Welcome to Heather's Crafty Corner on dealing with the issues. This is part one. We're gonna make cake pops today. I don't know what's happened over time, but it used to be really popular, and then all of a sudden people just stopped making it. So like I always say, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We'll just move forward and we'll make these cake pops, and I'll show you how to do it. My mother used to say, there is nothing new under the sun, only the people doing it. So I'm hoping that you choose to watch me doing it. First thing we're gonna need is a box of cake mix. I like to use the Pillsbury Moist Supreme because a lot of the cake pop recipes call for you to add icing. When I mix this cake and let it sit overnight, I don't have to put icing in the cake itself in order to make the cake balls, which will come in part two, and I'll do more explaining of that later. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna open up the box. We'll follow the instructions on the back of the box as directed. I have 3 eggs here, a 1/3 cup of oil. You can use vegetable oil, canola oil, whatever your preference is. And I have exactly 1 cup of water here. I have a bowl to mix it in. Just gonna go ahead and cut open this package. In goes the cake mix. This really couldn't be easier. It's just one of those things that requires patience. If you're the type of person who can be patient and doesn't want to do a whole lot at once, this works because it's actually a 2-day process. One thing about box cake mix, we can just go ahead and add the water, the oil, and our eggs. That's 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to turn around here and grab my mixer. Also, I'm going to preheat my oven to 325 degrees. This is an electric oven. Don't trust it. One thing about electric is that I usually like to go ahead and take it the next 25 degrees down, because if you set it to 350, you're probably going to have a burnt cake, and that's what causes the problems with most people and saying that they don't know how to bake. Electric ovens are commonplace for those of us who live in apartments. And one thing about those, they're usually not calibrated like a gas oven, so the heat is not always true to form. So take it the next 25 degrees down, especially when you're baking cakes or pies or any type of delectable treat. Anything that goes in the oven that's baking, has yeast or baking powder in it, next 25 degrees down when you're using an electric oven. That's a secret, I just told you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix this cake, and we're going to do it on medium for 2 minutes. Okay, now mix my cake here. Now keep this in mind when you're mixing a box cake mix. You cannot overmix box cake. You can mix it to death, but a lot of people will tell you, oh, it makes the cake tough. Those are bakers who usually do all their baking from scratch. Box cake mix cannot be overmixed. Actually, the more you mix it, the better. It'll bring it to a velvety smooth texture, and it'll leave a lot of moisture in that cake. So when you're eating cake and it's so moist and you're like, how'd you do that? They probably overmixed the cake. So 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, have at it. Just make sure all of your ingredients are incorporated as they should be, and everything is nice and smooth. Excellent. Okay, so here are my 2 pans. They have been greased and they've been floured. Make sure you do grease and flour the pans because you want your cake to come out real nice and real easy. You don't want to struggle with it when you're taking it out of the pans. Next thing I'm going to need is a spatula. Got one right here. We're going to just go ahead and put that cake in the pans. This is a judgment call, doesn't have to be perfect. Reason why is because on part 2, we're going to take this cake out of the pans and we're going to crumble it up and we're going to make balls out of it anyway. So it doesn't matter whether or not it's absolutely perfect. And one thing about making these cake pops is a good idea for bake sales and things like that. You can actually show and express a talent in yourself that people wouldn't ordinarily think you would have, and it brings something different to the table. So awesome, awesome, awesome thing to do for an amateur. That seems a bit complex, but trust me, it really isn't. We're going to evenly distribute that batter in the pans. Looks like I did good here on the eyesight and the judgment call. And I'm going to go ahead and put these cakes in the oven. The box says to let them cook for about 30 to 35 minutes. Usually on the 325 to 35 minutes is where I'm going to go with that. You want to bake them until you stick a toothpick in the middle and it comes out clean. So at least 35 minutes. In part 2 of making our cake pops, I will first let the cakes come. When they come out the oven, they're going to sit overnight. I'm going to wrap them in foil and we'll go over that right before our part 2. Thank you so much for watching Heather's Crafty Corner. This is part 1 of making cake pops.
This has been a Dealing with the Issues production. Thank you so much for watching.